Hey, what's up, guys? It is Rapmark here. So, doing the review for Chapter 4 of the Book of Boba Fett. So this is the Gathering Storm. So, offhand, I'm gonna say this is better than what Episode 3 was. I thought. Um, I liked that there were points in this episode that I really really enjoyed, but then there were a lot of points that kind of went a little bit below average, but it definitely didn't hit the lowest of lows. Honestly, I don't think this is the episode that fully brings the series fully back for me though. Like the episode 3 really brought it down, and that's really a shame. It still makes a lot of the same mistakes. It turns Boba into just this passive idiot, essentially, and I hate it. I hate what they're doing to him. I hate the way he's written. Um, and from what I've read is he straight up said in interviews where it's just like, you know what? I mean, this is not Boba Fett. Wear the helmet more, talk less, is what I said. Like, they're literally playing his character right now. The way he played right now, he'd be a perfect, uh, you know, Captain Rex, Commander Cody, what like one of the clones. 100%, 100%. This would be a great clone right here. This is Boba Fett, and Boba Fett's supposed to be this badass, and he was established in a Disney Plus series, in this canon, in this exact, again, by Disney Plus, in The Mandalorian, as someone who can kick ass. And this, oh my gosh. So, yeah. Let's get into it. So we start off, he's in the back to tank. So it looks like this is the last back to tank flashback part we will have. He is fully healed after he gets out of the tank, so there's that. But anyway, so while he's in the back to tank, his flashback is dealing with how he met Fennec. Um, and essentially, it goes back to that point in The Mandalorian where, you just see the feet and then she gets picked up. This one actually shows more of that. He is going to assault Bib Fortuna's castle after he took over from Jabba, but there's too many guards. So he notices that's when he goes to get Fennec, who is obviously shot and dying of a blaster shot to her guts. So what does he do? He takes her to a mod station in Tatooine, and it still looks very, very campy. Very. I'm still not the biggest fan of it. And again, I get it. It exists. It does exist within the universe. On which planet, though? The way they showed this makes no sense for a planet like Tatooine, and it feels off. But anyway, so he goes in and is just like, "You're too old," and he's just like, "She's dying," and then throws a thing of money. Should have started with that. But yeah, the doctor fixes Fennec all up. Uh, Takes out her guts, puts in some modded guts, and yeah, it's just like, are you gonna cover up? No. But yeah, she's not too much of a fan of that, so she covers it up, as you've seen in multiple episodes at this point. But anyway, so in order to get rid of for him letting her go from the bounty, he's just like, help me get my ship, and I will let you go, and that will be that. So she agrees, and then of course you have the very what's the word I'm looking for? Stereotypical sewer where you can conveniently get in to a place that is not guarded. But yeah, she has a drone that maps out the entire place, so they know how many guards are inside, where his ship is, how big the palace is, all that stuff. So that's cool. Apparently, it's only one-time use only, which is unbelievable to me, but whatever. I mean, it doesn't say that, but there's another part which I'm going to get into where it's just like, really? So anyway, they break in, and the robots. So some people I could see this being very like campy and cringy. I actually enjoyed the robot fight scene. It was actually funny, and it made more sense for the planet and for Boba Fett to be doing this. Um, I mean, you have one that gets immediately taken out, and then you have the chef droid. It's just like goes into this whole thing. It's like a mock-up of General Grievous. It was it was super silly but super like funny. I personally enjoyed that part. I thought that worked. Um, Shan sneaks up behind it and burns its head off, and that's the end of that. And then the rat catcher droid comes out, and it's just like, whoop! Oh gosh! And then it's running all over the place, jumping, going through the fire pit. And then finally, it gets caught, and it's so scared that it just turns himself off. But don't worry, he comes back. You'll see him at the end of the episode. He's now Boba's little rat catcher droid. You see him at the end, very end. Um, so yeah, then they go down. They get to the ship, and at that point, guards are starting to realize something's a little off. So a couple Gamorreans come in. They get taken out, and then the alarm goes off, and then everything just starts going downhill. Everyone's shooting, and he kind of looked fairly badass in this at first, and then he gets to his ship, the Slave One. I will always refer to it as Slave One because renaming it is, I'm sorry, it makes no sense, and yeah, it is the Slave One, so whatever. And so he grabs that. Well, Finnick is literally just kicking ass and taking names, just shooting like crazy, just perfect shots with her rifle. And then he gets the ship up. She gets on the ship, and they're just. But then trying to get out of it, he's just like, he can't see, he can't move. And he's just like, he's trying to, and it's just not working. They're just like, oh my gosh. Would. I can see what they were trying to do with the scene, but to me it felt lingering. It felt like they tried to hold on to it a little long for maybe humor's sake, I guess. And that didn't fully work for me, but it's whatever. So she finally gets the door open, it flies out, and then he's just like, "Where do you want to be dropped off?" And he's just like, "Where are you off to?" And he's got some scores to settle, so he's just like, "I'm there for the ride." Oh my gosh! So I entirely forgot about the talk they had. So him and Fennec actually talk before storming the palace. And essentially, he's just like, he's tired of being a hunter, especially after being taken in by the Tuscans and made part of their tribe. Was about to leave hunting behind. And he's just like, why do you want it? And Fennec's just like, why do you want to do this? It's just like, because we're smarter than the people who hire us. And then there's a part here that really puts that into question. But yeah. So anyway, he takes out the Nikto biker gang, which is, they do it in a smart way. He just guns them down from his ship. And yeah, he just shoots them all apart. And but I mean, but the same talk. Fennec's just like, what happened to him, and he's just like, they were taken out by a bunch of Nikto speeder bike gang, and it's just like, I don't think a speeder bike gang is going to take out an entire tribe of Tuscans, and I don't either. Like, anyone should see this a mile away. I mean, it was definitely the Pikes. It's just like, what do you think you're doing? We're not honorable. We're freaking drug dealers. Like, we're gonna backstab them. But yeah. But anyway, so he takes them out, and then he goes to find his armor in one of the most bizarre, like, stupid things I could imagine. He flies a slave one, you know, into the mouth of the Sarlacc pit, and is looking around for his armor in there. It's just like, this thing is a giant worm. And then it pops up, and then it grabs it. It almost drags his ship down. And, at this point, Fennec has to do something. And so what she does is she unleashes a seismic charge into the Sarlacc pit, and so that was pretty cool. That was fun. That was an amazing thing to see. But just flying a ship into the mouth of it. Like, why couldn't he use the drone? Why couldn't he? Does he not have sensors on his ship? Like, oh my god. Like, how? Like, that is probably one of the most mind-blowing decisions I have ever seen in a long time. Like, I've seen some whoppers in Star Wars. Don't get me wrong. Like, I've seen some whoppers, but man, that was bad. That was bad. I don't know what the heck was even the thought process there. God, he's just like, I'm gonna take over because we're smarter than them, and then he proceeds to fly into the Sarlacc pit's mouth and almost dies, and Fennec has to save him. And then like, I guess they were trying for humor. He's just like, "Don't touch my buttons," and it's just like, oh, why? Why are you like this? It's like the times you try to be badass, it just comes off as like petty and ungrateful, and the times that you should be badass, you just come off as spineless and weak, and it breaks my heart. Why are they doing this to him? So anyway, after that, you know, Fennec decides to stay with him, and then of course you go into where he takes out Bib Fortuna and takes the throne. And yeah, that's the end of it. After that, he's completely healed. And then we go into the sanctuary, We're in modern time, or the current time of the series, and he goes to Sanctuary again, where Chrysanthemum is pissed off at the Transoceans because, obviously Trandoshans are the ones who run the fighting pits, and yeah, looking at them makes him very, very angry. And he used to be a gladiator, so there you go. So he ends up attacking the Trandoshans and rips off one of their arms, even though I forget what her name is, but the female Twi'lek tries to stop him, and he's just like, and he rips his arm off. And I don't know, it just seemed a little clean to me. Like, I wish there was some blood. I get it that they're Trandoshans, they're reptiles, they can regenerate lost limbs. But yeah, it just seemed a little too clean, and the arm looked a little proppy in my opinion. But I mean, that's kind of nitpicking right there. But it's something I have to mention. So he ends up hiring Chrysanthemum to join with him. And then he has a banquet with all of the little sub bosses. They were all sub bosses under Jabba, but when Bib took over, they pretty much were just like, screw this guy. They couldn't take him out because of apparently the three other families that he had that he essentially got to protect him. And yeah, he was. But anyway, these three are essentially independent families, and he's pretty much just like suggesting a defensive alliance against the Pikes, who have been slowly taking over Tatooine, as it's been shown in the show. And they're just like, why don't we just kill you and take what we want instead? And then, the Rancor like puts a claw through and starts roaring, and it's just like it's just hungry, and just like, what are you afraid of? It's in a cage it can't get out of. Yeah, it was. I can see what they were kind of doing, and it is kind of cool, but you kind of have to have a suspension of disbelief. Um, that at this point in the series, I don't have. So, I mean, if you think I'm being overly picky by saying that about that scene, I get it. I disagree with you, but I get it. Like I said, my suspension of disbelief for this show though is just kind of it's kind of dragging right now, just because of what they're doing with it. But anyway, they're just like, why should we risk our necks for you against the Pikes? And he's just like, okay, fine, I'll do it myself. Just don't stab me in the back. And they're all just like, okay, this is acceptable. And I'm not sure I buy it. These are freaking crime bosses, so at some point I'm figuring they will stab him in the back. So I don't know what'll go with there, but that's just sort of my thoughts about that at the moment. Just like, you're not like, they're used to Jabba and his brutality, and how he will. Whereas Boba Fett just does not seem brutal. He doesn't seem like the type of person that you would want to side with, because he seems incompetent, he seems stupid, and he's just so passive. Like, Fennec's the badass here. Like, she would be a great family boss. She'd be an amazing family boss. But Boba Fett, I just feel like he couldn't run a freaking blockbuster at this point. Like, seriously. And it's driving me crazy because I love Boba Fett and I don't like what they've done to him. Oh, Sad Panda is so sad. So sad. But yeah, so convinces them to remain neutral, and Fennec, uh, well, he knows that he needs to brace up for war, but he doesn't have the muscle. And Fennec asks how many credits. We've got plenty of credits, we just don't have muscle. It's just like, well, credits will get you muscle if you know where to look. And then it does the Mandalorian music as this is being said. So a big shot that I'm guessing Mando is going to be showing up there. So anyway, that is literally how it ends. And you know what? Like I said, I think this was better than the third one by I can't say by a long shot, but it was definitely better than the third one. I think I gave that one a 3. This one I'm more inclined to give a 5 to. This is it's fairly average. You know, there were parts that were really good, like the Sarlacc being blown up by a seismic charge. That was pretty cool. The robot scene I thought was really cool. Um, but then there were parts that were way below average. Like I still wasn't a fan of the whole mod shop. Um, I wasn't a fan of Boba taking his ship into the mouth of the Sarlacc pit. Uh, yeah, there were just some choices, and then his like obsession with this Nick2 biker gang. Like a biker gang is not going to be able to take out a tribe of Tusken Raiders. I am staying with that to the till I see the last episode. So yeah, that I fully 100% believe it was the bikes that did it. So anyway, 5 out of 10. Fairly average. This has not brought the series back up for me after the third one. I'm kind of worried about where they go from here. But yeah, uh, we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, thank you for joining me here. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.